Now, George Miller is a director that I like. He knows how to make a visually stunning movie, and this movie is that, and it makes it well worth your time. We're talking about 3,000 Years of Longing, and critically speaking, the film isn't perfect, but I liked it. It's not easy to pick three wishes, or do you mock me?
You mock me.
Three wishes, perfectly simple and theoretically safe.
I was imprisoned by Solomon precisely because I cried out my heart's desire. Only by granting you yours may I earn my release.
Yes, well, I appreciate the symmetry, but the thing is this. I cannot for the life of me summon up one eligible wish, and you're asking me for three.
Yeah, that's right. Three wishes for a very content narratologist played by Tilda Swinton. Now, she's a woman that analyzes stories for a living. Now, she buys this bottle with a djinn or a genie in it. She frees him. Of course, he's played by Idris Elba. Now, she must ask for three wishes for him to be free. She has to have these wishes or he'll never be free. But she is happy in her solitary life. She doesn't want for anything. So here's the rub. The djinn has to convince her to make these wishes. Now, I love this premise. The story is told in flashbacks. Over the 3,000 years, this genie has been in and out of this bottle. Now, visually, this movie is magically stunning. I like how it incorporates like classic tales like The Queen of Sheba into its storyline. George Miller directed films like the Mad Max series. Can't wait to see Furioso, the prequel. I cannot wait for this. He's great at it. The messages in the film are also very well done and thought out through. The film loses its tone for a little bit, about 3/4 of the way through, but it regains it, finishing out very strong. The story is about a story analyzer that's life is changed by an infinite story source from an ultimate storyteller. Obviously, I like this movie. It's a thumbs up for me for its reality, for its lore, for its message. I forgave the missteps, Adam. So this one was good to me, very good. And it doesn't end where you think it will, and yet I loved it anyway. Where are you with 3,000 Years of Longing?
Yeah, I definitely felt the 3,000 years in this title. It felt like this movie kind of kept going and going and going. And I'm all for. I'm thumbs down. Get that out of the way. Yeah, get that out of the way. All right. Now I can get into this. I just felt like it was so much backstory. The backstory became the story. I'm into a story about wishes, and you know, whenever you get some wishes, you got to word them correctly. Because you don't want the words to be twisted back at you. There's a whole, Wishmaster horror movies are all about, you gotta have the exact right wording. But this one, she didn't want the wishes, and so he goes on and on and on, and every time you think that the main story between Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba is going to move forward, we get another backstory to the backstory about how Idris Elba was inside of this bottle.
You were into those stories, man? I thought they were good stories.
Lee, it's like if I asked you, how you doing today? Oh. And you started with like, well, my grandparents were, you know, and you start telling their story. And then your story about your parents. And I want to know how you're doing today. And it's so much to get to the action of today. I just felt like we were waiting forever and ever, 3,000 years worth to wait for something in this movie to happen. And to be honest, you're talking about the ending. I can't even remember the ending because we're so tied up in everything that happened well before that this story picked up. There are some really nice visuals. George Miller is obviously a master, but this kind of feels like a lull between Mad Max movies.
Before we move on,
yes,
I gave it a B+. What do you give it?
I gave it a C, Lee. It's a nice C. So it's, you know, look, there are worse movies this week, for sure, which we'll get to later. But this just felt stalled to me, and it never really got out of first gear.